Hello everyone. This is the book that we were telling you about, a book on being love's warrior, becoming the passionate and compassionate warrior within by Kendall Ronan. We're going to read this chapter by chapter, and we're also going to provide some videos and things like that explain the meditation techniques and the Qigong techniques that we'll be doing at the end of the chapter. We'll have part of this on our Patreon station. We'll leave our Patreon link down in the text somewhere so you can join our Patreon and support us for as little as $2 a month. More would be better to put forward this understanding that moves us beyond the bipolar paradigm of wake versus asleep that has been pushed to us by billionaires and allows us to be free of both sides of the argument and to become the human beings that we always wanted to be. And so we are going to start with study number 1. If you haven't heard the introductory, you can find that on our Facebook page, Diana Sarah Holistic Health, or somewhere else. So here we are. Study number 1, the contemporary Western paradigm. Introduction. If you have chosen to purchase this manual, it is my hope that you are interested in doing something to change your own life and change the world. This manual is created by the director of the Diana Sarah Wellness Warrior of Compassion Guild, which is now only online, if it exists at all, which I will refer to as WOCG in this first chapter. You will begin at the first level as an initiate. There are 4 levels in WOCG. Initiate. 1 is doing the inner work. 1 is strengthening her own internal powers and working to rebuild her larger identity by casting off the social conditioning and coming to terms with her or his own internal divine self. The 2nd is teacher. 1 is beginning to do the outer work. He is helping strengthen his self. He is teaching others to reclaim their identities, and he is going outside of himself and beginning to heal others. Warrior. 1 is doing the greater work. She or he has reclaimed all of her characteristics and has worked through those and reclaimed what has been thwarted and diminished because of societal pressures to conform. She has reclaimed her identity and has internalized the need to work to defend the peace of all people. She has strengthened herself and has become adept at both destroying that which is false and building that which is true and eternal. She is a healer as well as a wielder of the sword. In this phase, 1 begins to work with a larger population or with a group that's working somewhere in the world to transform the whole society. The next level is Ronin. 1 had to become a Ronin in the samurai legions. A Ronin was a soldier without a master. The Ronin was a spiritual giant and a master of self-defense. The Ronin could kill as well as heal. The Ronin was totally self-sufficient. The Ronin was free to use his acquired skills in whatever way he liked. This is the last level that you will attain at the end of 2.5 or 3 years' time if you successfully master the other steps along the way. Elders are the wise ones. They are the ones who advise and the ones who work behind the scenes doing day-to-day tasks. They are the ones who have supported the creation of the WOCG and who work to make lessons available to those who are studying with us. The elder position is an honorary position reserved for those who have gone far beyond the call of duty in order to contribute to the betterment of the world. Doesn't that sound excellent? Whether you be Democrat or Republican, progressive, liberal, radical right, this all seems right and correct because this is who you were born to be. The information that I'm sharing here is not new. It has been available to people in positions of power for centuries. It's been available to those who would oppress all of humanity, and it has also been available to those who would change the world and make it a place of justice, equity, and compassion for all people. This is the knowledge that those who are not affluent could only access through mystical experience. It has always been reserved for a small group of people who have been considered chosen above and beyond masses. The masses were seen as unintelligent, barbaric creatures who were little more than animals, while the elite considered themselves blessed creatures who were closer to God than others. We will not debate whether some are blessed and closer to God in these pages. We will only suggest that you are close enough to God to understand these teachings if you are a WOC. For it is at this time and in this place, this little part of eternity now, that you and these teachings have come together. It is for this reason that you entered into this reality at this time. Learn from them, use them in order to grow and cleanse yourself from the pollution, the poison that we take in daily in a society that emphasizes consumerism over love and spirituality. For this is the world of the hungry and thirsty spirits who wander the earth, whose hunger and thirst are never quenched. Some of this information can probably be dangerous if it is used in the wrong way. It can help one develop more ways to oppress others. It can help one develop himself in order to become very adept at deceiving the general public. One does receive a backlash from such behavior, however, in this life and the one to come. On the other hand, it can make one adept at healing the general public, healing the broken-hearted, setting the captives free, announcing the coming reign of love, peace, God, Goddess, the divine, whatever you choose to name, the ultimate good. Handle this information cautiously, therefore. Think of it like a two-edged sword. Have you ever studied sword fighting or done any martial art forms with the sword? I would suggest you do this if you have one, or just look at a sword or a blade for a while and study it. The sword is very deadly. One gets a powerful feeling from just holding one. The sword is not for hunting. It's not for cutting bread or whacking weeds. The sword is for one thing: killing. The sword is for killing in order to defend the timid, those less adept at killing, and the sword is for killing and enslaving the innocent. The way one handles the sword and the purpose for which one uses the sword is an extension of the self. When one takes up a sword with one's hand and moves that sword, one is extending his body, mind, spirit, and emotions through it. The sword and the human being, if it is used effectively, become one. It is the same with your words. Our words are like a sharp two-edged sword. If we wield them one way, we are helping to defend life. We are cutting down that which hinders growth, love, and fulfillment for all humanity and creation. If we wield them the other way, we have become the destroyers of life, and we are the ones who hinder growth, love, and fulfillment. As you think of your desire to share these teachings and how you will do so, think of your words as a sword. Remember, sometimes it is good to leave your sword in the scabbard A sword is only to be removed from the scabbard when someone or something has to die. The guild is a place to wrestle with oneself. It is a place where one learns real spirituality, not only how to feel good. It is a place where we enter into the never-ending battle between good and evil, where we begin to follow the path with heart. We go to another section, FYC, for your consideration. The following relates greatly to the philosophy behind the Warrior of Compassion's Guild. Consider the information closely as you read it. If it is too academic, read the paper with a dictionary close by. If it is not academic enough, bear with us. The content is important enough to struggle with in order to master oneself and regain control of one's life in a society that is based so much on the written and spoken word. It is necessary to become adept at using both. As you read, consider the way that it is written, realizing that you will need to be able to write in the following style someday. Take notes on your thoughts and feelings about the subjects broached. Too often in our society we read through things quickly or we skim information. This is a chance to delve more deeply into what you have read and also your own feelings, not anyone else's, but your own feelings. The following. There is a great struggle and much conflict in our daily lives when we make attempts to bring together spirit and matter in a contemporary Western paradigm. The same difficulties exist when we attempt to apply the beliefs of justice, equity, and compassion, democracy and love of neighbor and friend and stranger to our lives and lifestyles for similar reasons. From the perspective of indigenous people and many mystics who developed mindsets similar to many indigenous cultures, these difficulties are often attributed directly to the Western concept of reality. Donna Marimba Richards expands on the concept of Western worldview in her description of the differences in the worldviews of European Americans, African Americans, and Africans. In this case, Richards gives us a working definition of worldviews. Richards writes, worldview refers to the way in which people make sense of their surroundings, make sense of life and of the universe. When we have difficulty making sense of life's circumstances and vicissitudes, we usually turn to religion. The term worldview is related to religion, but not necessarily in its institutional form. The end of her quote. This concept of religion being associated with worldview is very interesting. There are covert sets of norms and standards of behavior in our society that are often lived out religiously. There are sets of foundational beliefs that underlie our society's concept of reality to the extent that they are usually accepted without question. One often only recognizes these covert sets of boundaries when one steps outside of them. Those who dare challenge them, like many prophets and sages of the past, are often accused of attempting to destroy the identity or the very fabric of society. One such idea that underlies the Western technological society is one of power, control, and destruction, she goes on to write. Realities are split into pairs of opposing parts. Conventionally, one of these becomes valued, while its converse is understood as lacking value. One is good and the other is bad. It then becomes necessary, valued behavior to attempt to destroy the one, the bad one, while the other ascends to supremacy. The human response to the universe, for instance, is separated into reason and emotion. Reason then becomes the valued aspect of humanity. The end of her reading. If reason becomes the valued aspect of humanity, it must be used to eliminate all that is placed in opposition to reason, such as emotions, intuition, and all things that involve heightened emotion or altered states of awareness. This includes spirituality. As long as we in the West are trapped in the paradigm of dualism and the need to put down, to destroy everyone and everything that is not like us, we will never be able to bind ourselves back to the whole and live in the reality of the vastness of the cosmos, or live out our own higher ideals. The African worldview, she continues, and many indigenous peoples' worldview, is characterized by unity, harmony, spirituality, and organic interrelationship. The European worldview is characterized by compartmentalization, which is isolation and separation, control, that's power relationships, conflict, which is tension, materialism, and mechanical relationships. As a result, traditional African society is a microcosm of the natural cosmic environment in which people are actively and closely involved and with they identify, whereas Western society is an unnatural, technically efficient order set within an artificially materialized universe in which people experience pain and alienation, both from the modes in which they are forced to function, the institutions, and they receive it from each other. The end of her quote. The artificial system must be dismantled if we are ever to be reconnected with the rest of the cosmos. This can be done by recognizing the inadequacy of dualism and reclaiming our identity as part of the cosmos. This means recognizing that we are whole individuals who are spiritual, material, emotional, logical, rational, and creative, and recognizing that all of these characteristics have equal value. It means recognizing the fact that all of these characteristics, these opposites, exist together in reality instead of being separate, compartmentalized pieces. We are much more than we think we are as a society. At the same time, we are much less than we think we are as egos. We can further explore this assumption by looking more deeply at the building blocks of our society that support concepts of alienation and separation from ourselves, as well as the universe around us. One of the major building blocks is competition. During our younger years, competition is one of the main tools used to teach us about the need to win and to prove that we are worthy individuals. Early on, we learn that we can outdo someone else and that is a good thing. There are those who say that this country is based on competition and that healthy competition is good for everyone. There are, however, certain criteria for testing the health of the competition that exists in our society according to Horney, as extrapolated in a spirituality named compassion, and whether it is good for building up the individual or creating aggressive dominator behavior in the individual. This is the quote. First, if measurement against others is a constant need and only one thing seems to matter, namely getting ahead of the other. Second, when ambition, even if repressed, drives one to be not only better than others, but the best, the need to be unique and exceptional interferes then with the variability to enjoy success. And third, when one declares verbally or non-verbally, "That's no one, but I shall be beautiful, capable, and successful." In this way, competition is aimed at destroying the other rather than creative construction of oneself. End of quote. This fits well into the dualistic worldview that says that one person, thing, or way of being has to be right and the other's wrong. The one who is right must use his or her power over to utterly destroy the one who is wrong. This idea, like the dualistic worldview, permeates most of our major institutions, including the religious institutions of the West, across all faiths and religion. The idea of climbing Jacob's ladder in Christianity and the Christian church is a good example of how such attitudes are transmitted as ways of being that are divinely sanctioned. Competition is built into ladder climbing. For one thing, only a few can be on a ladder at a time. In fact, if too many crowd, the entire edifice will fall. Especially is this the case so near the top. A ladder is very sensitive to being top heavy. The same can be said of a pyramid. A pyramid needs a wide base in order to support its top. As long as the majority of creation remains at the bottom of the pyramid as the base, and only a few remain at the top, the pyramid will not topple. As soon as too many begin to move at the top, as soon as all are considered equal, the pyramid will no longer exist. The most fearful at all levels of the pyramid will work diligently not to allow this. The interest of all who have bought into the hierarchical system of the pyramid is to either remain where one is or move to the top. In order for people to allow the pyramid to dissolve or to evolve into a circle, they must have a total transformation in their way of thinking. They must change their identity to one that is not created or supported by the pyramid. This takes a spiritual awakening and or remembering who and what they really are outside of the pyramid. A great hindrance to the necessary transformation process is the institutional religious structure. The structure that was originally set up to be prophetic and to support healthy growth and change has become part of the pyramid and has become so inundated with a competitive mindset that it is now fighting to hold on to its own position on the pyramid. It is no longer trying to transform the pyramid into a circle. There is no sense of compassion left in many religious institutions or in the pyramid. Compassion, one might say, works from the strength born of awareness of shared weakness, not from someone else's weakness, and from awareness of the mutuality in all. Thus, to put down another, as in pity, is to put down oneself. Pity works out of a subject-object relationship, where what is primary is one's separateness from the other. A quote from Matthew Fox. This pity is a result of sentimentalism. According to Matthew Fox, sentimentalism is what replaced compassion in our religious institutions. Sentimentalism and pity are more aligned with the competitive nature that exists in our society than the ideas expressed by Jesus, the Hebrew scriptures, and many other scriptures used throughout the world in various religions and philosophies. True religious scripture speaks of compassion as mercy and or justice making, doing the deliverance that justice is all about, according to Matthew Fox. Sentimentalism was not always a central theme in the Christian church. It can be traced to the Middle Ages. In the Middle Ages, a sentimental piety was developed that sidetracked the true meaning of compassion, and instead of celebrating, relieving one another's pain together, the people drew up a minute inventory of the torments inflicted on Christ. They enumerated the steps that he made on the Via Dolorosa and the bruises on his body and the drops of his blood. One can explore how much of this masochistic and sentimental enemy of spirituality is still present in pieties and hymns, in sermons, and in petrified language of the Christian churches, Protestant and Catholic. This sentimentalism ultimately became the core of what it really meant to be a good Christian. It is completely understandable that we, as a nation that has Christianity as a majority religion, and which was settled by Protestants and Catholics, were greatly influenced by pious sentimentalism instead of compassion or doing justice. Sentimentalism, according to Matthew Fox, is a rancid political consciousness that blocks authentic spiritual development. It actually interferes with the natural flow of energy outward that persons are born with. It is flight from politics and a flight from justice making. End of quote. This sentimentalism is dwelling at the heart of our powerful religious system and is being poured out into the society at large by institutions within that system. It is being presented as doctrine from the throne of heaven. It is blocking the development of real compassion and the only thing that can heal our society and ourselves. It, along with the competition between various churches and faiths, are impeding our ability to dismantle an unjust hierarchical system and to develop the trust in each other that we need. It is teaching us to sustain the hierarchy instead of transforming it by keeping those who are on the lower levels than we are sedated by supplying their basic needs. It also teaches us to feel good for helping the unfortunate wretches who are beneath us on the ladder. It isn't teaching us, however, that we should be doing this, having mercy, but we should also be transforming the pyramid into something more equitable. Religious institutions are not the only institutions that hinder us from entering into the fullness of the compassion that exists within each of us. Our educational system also does. Our educational system perpetuates competition throughout all our educational levels. It upholds Western European rationalism as the only valid form through which to express wisdom and to learn. This teaches us detachment, separation, and how to hate without our conscience interfering. As Boltzmann and Miranda both point out, the word hatred in the Bible means a simple lack of compassion, an apathy, a coldness, an abstractness to the presence of neighbor, or an indifference to it. The rationalist tradition in the West and inculcated into our very patterns of thinking and action, including our theology and our institutions, is a deconstructionist approach to living. One might even say it is an educational system that educates us in hatred and how to be haters and cold-hearted, i.e., uncompassionate people. And that is the end of the FYI for your consideration. I don't expect you to believe any of this. I expect you to think about it. I expect you to argue about it. I expect you to do some research. If you are going to be a warrior, you need to do research. You need to understand. You need to wrestle with the greatest enemy, the deception that exists within the self. And that is the end of the FYI section. The last section is this month's exercises. I will be putting these up on my Patreon very soon. Right now, working part-time and doing exercises myself to regain my own health takes a lot of time, so it would take time for me to put those up. If you would like to help support us so that I can do less working out of the home, please feel free to join our Patreon, where we can set up meetings. You can experience one of our free 30-minute word of compassion, spirituality, life coaching sessions, and there'll be many more things that you can acquire as we grow down the line. The last sections, this month's exercises, TME. Your exercise for this week is to think about what you have read. Really think about it. Allow it to soak into your subconscious. Meditate on some part of what you read each night, especially the parts that made you the most uncomfortable or the ones that you agree with the most. Each night take a different section. Make 2 columns on a piece of paper and label one I believe and the other I do not believe. Look at an idea that touches you strongly and ask, why do I believe this or not believe this? Write down your answer. Continue to ask yourself the same question about the same idea over and over again, looking for a deeper, more profound message each time and probing more deeply. Why do I believe this? What will it mean if I do believe it? What will it mean if I don't? What will I have to change in my life? Do this with one section or one idea per night until you're getting the same answer and feeling comfortable with it. Write that answer down. Immediately afterwards, sit in a comfortable position in a chair or cross-legged on the floor and meditate. You may listen to some soothing music if you'd like. Begin by concentrating on your breath. Let your tongue rest on the top of your mouth. Breathe deeply through your nose, feeling the breath coming in and going all the way down to the spot 2 inches below your navel. Let your stomach muscles relax and expand. This may be difficult since most of our lifetime is spent in the West learning how to hold the stomach in, but you will get the hang of it. Imagine the breath as white light coming in, moving down, circulating around the spot 2 inches below the navel. As you exhale, imagine the light moving up to the spot at the center of your forehead, circling that area, and then leaving the body, carrying out any stress and tiredness. The spot 2 inches below the navel is known as the ki in Japanese, the dantian in Chinese. It is the place where we store chi or life energy. The spot below the brow is known as the third eye. It is also an energy center or chakra where intellect and creative imagination reside. You will strengthen these energies by doing this simple meditation each night for 15 minutes. Do the meditation right before you go to bed and you will have some very interesting dreams. I promise you. It may seem boring at first if you are not used to meditating, but eventually your mind and body will begin to look forward to the times of rest that comes with a meditative practice. Do this for a month before moving on to the next section. Next month, we will look at some more of the philosophy behind the WOCG, and we'll begin to look at the pyramid of identity formation, how we are made to support it, and how we are forced to trade our power with others and our power within in order to gain and support the power over, used to disempower us and the majority of beings. If you would like to read more, you can purchase our book on being Love's Warrior, a warrior's manual on becoming the compassionate warrior within. You can find it on Amazon, or you can find it for less at iuniverse.com. And the book is by Kendall Ronan. We look forward to connecting with you next month. Namaste, everyone.